Drum Marketing Awards judging day. We started the day with a great panel with some of our sponsors and judges, where we discussed the future of the CMO role and the key challenges and opportunities they face. Here are some of the key takeaways.
Marketers evermore need to be adaptable, curious, willing to learn, making sure that they've got space to be innovative and continually evolving what they're doing, responding to customer needs, because that's changing in this day and age all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I think those skills are really important, but I also think that empathy with the customer and really kind of getting under the skin of what your customers want and need is so vital, more than it ever has been almost.
Yeah. So I think the skills for a modern marketeer are the same that they always have been. Clearly there's a lot of change in terms of the tools available and technologies and the external environment, but the fundamental skills are what they always have been. It's about how these tools are leveraged to make you do your job better.
I completely agree with you, but I think also data has presented both an opportunity and a challenge, because everybody's become too focused on instant ROI. And I think it's the marketeer's job to keep the creativity element, but also to educate the wider senior piece. So I think they've got to practice their influencing skills to highlight the metrics that are important around customer lifetime value and demonstrate the true impact they're having on the business.
Well, I think they're left brain, right brain. You've got to be both. You have to have high level of conviction about what you do, because you're dealing in a world of chaos, and it's a very fluid space. And so the modern marketer has to be really convicted on what is the brand purpose and how to drive it forward, and then really good in left and right brain to do the maths and stay up on top of new technology.
Yeah, that cocktail of skills is pretty imperative, I think, needing the commercial savviness, but the creative flair and the ability to work with tech and data.
I think it will, and I think part of that is about the marketer being the defender and the advocate of creativity. In a world of numbers where you can measure everything, it's really important that someone comes up with all the things you haven't done, the things that might change the company, the world, and it's humans that are going to find that, I think. And so I think the defence of creativity is going to be a real responsibility of marketers.
I think it will, and if managed correctly, it will change it for the better. I think there is a risk that people just focus too much on the data, and I think the big challenge for most marketers and most brands is they're not necessarily focusing on which metrics are the most important, because there's just too much data. So yeah, I think it will enhance it, I think, and if managed correctly, it will be fine.
I agree. I think it's important that marketeers consider the data and technology as a means to the end, not the end in itself, and don't get too over-seduced by technology to deliver versus what it can bring to the brand.
Yeah, I think every industry, every channel, every function is going through transformational change, and typically that's led by some kind of technology. I think within marketing it's specifically data and how you can capitalize on that, how you can manipulate the data, because there's so much of it, you can drown in the data. And just using smart tools like our platform where we have AI built in, you can then get to the insights part very fast, which, you know, as a marketer is ultimately how am I performing and how can I improve my performance to deliver better growth.
Well, I would agree with that. I think the thing that's interesting for me is that we're not there yet of having platforms that are mature in all areas of the marketing function, and so you spend a lot of time trying to work out what's going to work or how to tell that story, or is this working or not. I think in the future this role will be completely disrupted, where those things will be taken as read, that the data works and the platforms are built, and we're now really into optimizing and having that one-to-one relationship we all kind of crave as marketers to be able to sell in the right way, but we've got to get through this transition of change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that role that's looking after the customer and the customer needs and their evolving needs and adapting to it is always going to be an important one. I think the remit is evolving, and working with other teams in the business is always going to be something that the CMO does. But I think we also need to consider not just the revenue lines and those commercial targets, but also the customer needs and our employees' changing needs within that role.
Yeah, employees are really important as well, you're right, as well as the customer. And I also think that it doesn't really matter what you call it, it's still a CMO at heart.
Marketeers have always had to work cross-functionally, and so long as the role encompasses the full customer journey and mix, in terms of the 4 Ps and everything that goes beyond that, it's still completely fundamental.
As long as they're using the right data to make the right decisions and fundamentally putting their own customer at the heart of things and then educating the board on the important metrics, I absolutely think it's still valid.
That conversation drives me crazy because honestly, it's all about, titling and retitling. We worry too much about the wrong things. That's a name, that's a title. I think the important thing is what's the role and what kind of value you bring into the business. And I'm quite comfortable if my role was called CMO, as long as the scope of the role included the total customer journey. And I think that's happening regardless of what we want to call these jobs.
Yeah, I think it's the semantics, right? We're getting hung up on that. It's about actually the function and what's involved in it that's important.
And I don't think we'll be able to see a return where the CMO wasn't passionate about the customer and the customer journey. I mean, that world has now changed.